Okay.
For Blount County Mayor.
Well, I wasn't planning on it actually this year, and I've had some calls and people call me and ask me to want to run. There's a lot of people that feel like they're disassociated from the leaders in Maryville. They feel they can't go talk to them. I mean, if you look, even looking, there's some good guys running in this election, but if you look at it, you got what, a newspaper owner, been in the House, you got a banker, well, not a banker, but a florist owner, all businessmen pretty much, and a lawyer. And then you got me. And what I've done is everything I have, I've earned, I've worked my way up to it. I've always worked with the people. I've always served the people, from the Department of Defense to the military to the post office, and even serving as a county commissioner. I like helping people, and that's why.
How will you, if elected, address growth in Blount County? How do you think the mayor's office can responsibly accommodate people who live here already and people who are moving here?
Well, I think we can slow down the growth, absolutely. That's one of the big issues that we're having. And with this growth that's coming, I think there's underlying problems that people are not looking at. For example, the infrastructure. We can't accommodate the people we have now. We're behind on our roads, so I think some attention is going to be brought to that. The homeless. That's becoming a big problem. The bigger we get, the more people we have, the more homeless we have, and that's not being addressed at all whatsoever. And that needs to be addressed too.
There are some concerns from parents about safety in schools in Blount County. How would you address these concerns? I think that from people that I have spoken to, it stems from some infractions involving staffers and students that we have seen in the news that has been in the legal system as well. How would you address those issues as Blount County Mayor to make sure people felt safe, their kids felt safe, the schools felt safe?
Well, I think we need to find some way to motivate people to talk. We're finding out that more people are knowing about this and it's being pushed back, it's being hidden. If we can find some way to just motivate people to really come out when it first happens, or when they first hear about it, before it becomes an elongated trial and tribulation for our kids. That's one thing that we have to protect and support is our children. I've been a youth football coach, well, I'm not right this moment, but at least 25 years in this county. And those lives are just ready and young and they're ready to learn and just grow. And when they see use our example of the things that we do and what we do and how we do them, it's really important. So we got to protect our youth.
Sure. What do you think is the biggest thing or challenge facing Blount County in the next 5 years?
Growth. Again, back to growth, infrastructure. The more people you have, the more problems you can have. We've got to keep our police forces strong and educated. Yeah, we're going to have to get something with this growth.
What do you want to see this community look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Hopefully we can just propel and continue to grow. I want to see more infrastructure. I'm just stuck on this infrastructure. When it takes 20 minutes to get from my house, which is in the middle of the city, to somewhere it used to take 5 minutes, we've got an issue there, and it's going to continue to get worse. I want to see people be able to have affordable homing, because the prices that the fastest we're growing, people that have lived here for years are moving away because they can't afford to live here in Blount County. We've got to change that. We've got to have a county that is providing for everyone, not just the upper people or the money people, but for the regular people. They get up and go to work every day from 9 to 5. And that's what's being lost here in our county. It's just going away, and these people are moving out. We can't afford it. Why would we, people that have grown up here and lived here all their lives, there's a problem when they have to leave because they can't afford to live here anymore. So obviously we're going to have to keep lowering our taxes, keep them low, but we can come up with solutions.
Is there anything I haven't asked you think people should know?
I'm a great cook. I just love this county. I always have. I've lived here for, 25, 30 years now. My father grew up in Blount County. He just passed away recently, so we're dealing with all that. But hey, this is a great place to live. It's beautiful. We've got the mountains. We're close to everything. You got south, north, east, or west. You got to come through here to get there. And hey, we're the best county in the state and the best state in the country.
It's a great opportunity for me to extend service. I've been a public educator for the last 40 years, and that's how I've given to my community. Being the county mayor is going to extend that opportunity for me. I'm 63 years old, and it's time for me to be able to move into something else, and this is an opportunity to serve the county as a whole. I've been serving as a high school principal, and now I'd like to serve as a whole. I want to be a servant leader. I want to lead side by side with all of the community, with all the people in Blount County, and for me, that service, if I'm elected, will be serving everyone, whether they have a little R in front of their name, a little D in front of their name, or a little I in front of their name. It will be for all of Blount County.
How will you address growth in Blount County, and how do you think the mayor's office can responsibly accommodate people who already live here and also people who are moving here?
Infrastructure is probably the #1 thing that we talk about and we hear constituents or would-be constituents talk about as we move through the campaign. Starting in August and all the way up until today, I've had people contact me about growth as it relates to infrastructure. So the very first thing that you've got to do with growth is you've got to match it with responsible infrastructure. You've got to have infrastructure that's been planned, and that means holistically planning. That means communication between all of the cities in Blount County, and developing plans with those groups. Even though those planning councils are separate from each other and they're autonomous, they need to communicate to create a future forward plan that allows for what we would term responsible growth. Growth is not a bad thing, but helter-skelter growth in just pocketed areas is. Uncontrolled growth is a bad thing. That's a concern for us in Blount County, especially for a lot of us that have lived here for many years and see the county in an overall view. So my goal as a mayor would be able to get these groups together to communicate and to develop an infrastructure plan that would allow everybody to move forward successfully and match the growth as we bring it in. How does that relate to people who are coming into our community? One of those things is if you have good planning and responsible growth that's managed correctly, the people who move here for our great culture and our great values are going to be able to retain that, because growth won't destroy that or erode that. We want to keep these great open green places like this for people who come in, who want to enjoy this with their family. We also want to provide appropriate housing for people who move into our community so they can move forward with their families. And then the biggest part of that, and obviously since I'm a school administrator, I think about this, is appropriate planning so our schools can match the needs of our new families that are coming into our community. And that is first and foremost the most important thing for families here. It's their education.
My next question is actually about schools. There are concerns about safety in some Blount County schools. How would you address these concerns? I think parents are worried because there have been some noted infractions between staff, employees, and some students over the past couple of years. How can the mayor's office address that? How will you address that as mayor?
Well, that's kind of a twofold thing for me. I have a very lengthy experience addressing school issues. That happens to be what I'm paid to do and have been for the last 21 years of my career as a school administrator. The county mayor is not the director of the schools. He's not the manager of the schools. There is an elected county board, but he needs to talk with that county board of education and those people, the director of schools, Justin Ridge, who is the Blount County Director of Schools right now. Those communications need to be with the county mayor. He needs to be a person who I would be that brings everybody to the table and allows all of those parties, all those stakeholders, from the students to the parents to the teachers to the administrators to the county board of education to the director of schools, where everyone has a voice and they meet regularly to look at the issues in their schools. And as you said, you talked about building concerns, you talked about safety and security concerns. When people communicate together and make decisions as a whole, good progress and forward progress is made. My background in that, I think at Maryville City Schools, at Maryville High School, that should speak for itself. You can see the outcome for that. Hopefully, we'd be able to apply and to be able to carry that for all of our school systems. We're blessed with 3 great school systems in Blount County. So if we can just communicate, bring together all the stakeholders, and develop good overall management, the county mayor can help those people have the tools they need to do. But it's also important to remember the county mayor is not the boss over the school systems. They're autonomous.
What do you think is the biggest challenge or the biggest thing in general facing Blount County in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, it's definitely going to be growth as it relates to infrastructure needs. I think everybody, as I said earlier in our conversation, that is a topic that you don't escape. When I knock on a door, if someone has a need that they can want to talk to me about, it's typically infrastructure. When someone calls me, when someone reaches out on my website, it's infrastructure. You know, Brett, what are we going to do about traffic? What are we going to do about houses overdeveloping? What are we going to do about preserving this beautiful county that we have and keeping our green spaces? So I think that will definitely be the biggest issue in the next 5 years. But I want to continue on a theme. Communication and bringing groups together and planning holistically instead of planning just in spots, instead of handling development just helter-skelter. Now, I'm not criticizing the current mayor. Mr. Mitchell has done a phenomenal job being the mayor here in Blount County. I'm just saying as we move forward, it's important for us to come together as a group, all cities and all facets of county government, to help with infrastructure and help with planning. You've got to develop a long-range, conservative plan that controls growth, but you have to develop it through the filter of our traditions, our cultures, and our values. I told you this before, Libby, my family's been here for over 200 years, and those traditions, that culture, and this environment that we live in Blount County are very important to me, and as I talk to voters, it's very important to them.
And my final question is, what do you want to see this community look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, that harkens back to what we were just talking about. You know, I can elaborate on that. I want our county to look as if someone came in here that was a planner, a county planner, a city planner, that the development looked like it had a pattern and it had a rationale. It was hooked up to services that were applicable. It was hooked up to school systems that weren't at overcapacity, but were operating where they should be. So I'd love for this county to look like the things that we plan to do are matched with the growth. Now, again, I hear people say, well, I don't want the county to grow anymore. We can't grow. We can't do that, okay? We have to have some type of growth. We cannot become stagnant. But the most important thing about growth is that it's filtered and it's controlled and it's manageable growth that's done holistically with all parties in Blount County at the table.
Anything I haven't asked you think people should know?
Not really. I've had a wonderful time during this campaign. I'd like to thank everybody in Blount County for how nice they've been. I would also like to thank all the other candidates, Mr. Bowers, Mr. Moon, and Mr. Anderson. Hey, it takes a lot to step out here and put yourself on the line, and you guys did that. Thank you for participating in Blount County politics, and I hope everyone has a wonderful election cycle. And Libby, I kind of hope to see you again on May the 5th. You have a great day.
Brad, why are you running for Blount County Mayor? What inspired you?
Well, you know, being on the county commission for the past 12 years and really watching local politics for the previous 15, 20 years before that, I felt like my next step was either step back from running for county commission because I've been there for 3 terms, and I feel like I'm really kind of a term limits kind of guy. 3rd term, I just kind of got the feeling, you know, next time I'm not probably going to run again for commissioner. I've always kind of thought I might want to run for mayor, and I've been very prayerful about it and talked to my family about it, and they thought I ought to do it. And so, yeah, I just think that I bring good leadership qualities to the table. I've done a lot of things in my life, a lot of different things, and I think that helps me and qualifies me and gives me a good perspective to be the county mayor.
How will you address growth in Blount County? And how do you think the mayor's office can responsibly accommodate not just people who live here already, but people who are moving here?
That's a great question, and there's not a great answer. But, you know, COVID turned everything upside down, I feel like. So now we were growing before that, but we have grown exponentially since then. So there's some things maybe we can do. I don't know, you know, people talk about the traffic and how congested it can be. And I don't know, the cities work on that. The county, I think, only is involved in a couple of red lights that they maintain and control. But hopefully we can widen our intersections, make better turning lanes, just provide better roads, like where you can exit on and off, or just a connector road or a main road. We can do those things. And growth, I'm on the side of it. It's been said that I'm pro-growth. I'm really not. The bottom line is we're going to grow. We live in a very desirable place. And, you know, we can't keep people from coming here, especially if they jump through the hoops. But I feel like maybe there's some things we can do. 3 years ago on the commission, we actually increased our lot sizes from 0.69 to 0.75 out in R1. And we decreased the amount of density in suburbanizing. So we're trying to slow it down like that. I don't think that's had much of an effect. A lot of people thought it would cause problems, but it's not really caused problems, and I don't think it's really slowed things down. So I don't know what our next step is with that. We do have a comprehensive growth plan that we're going to vote on, I think, next month, and hopefully we can implement some of those things. Do some more traffic studies, work better with the cities on that. But I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what I got.
There are concerns about safety in Blount County schools. How would you address these concerns? Parents are worried because there have been some noted infractions between staff and students. We have reported on it in the news, and some parents are worried about that. How do you think? How would you address these concerns if you become Blount County mayor?
Well, you know, I would hope to work closely with school leadership, Director Justin Ridge, but I would like to work closely with him, you know, and I think that's the success of a county government, is being able to work with people and, you know, and just help them in any way that the county can. You know, we're kind of separate from that, even though the county commission approves the budget, but whatever we can do and whatever schools suggest that we do, I would be willing to do all I can to do that and help that. Schools, discipline things, teachers like you were talking about, that's handled in-house, and county commission don't really have a lot to do with that, as does the mayor. Mayor obviously and county commission have some influence on that, but you know, that's basically up to the schools, up to the sheriff's department, up to DHS. So just whatever way I could help, I'll be glad to do that. If it means getting people in the room and talking about it till we work it out, then that's what I'm willing to do.
What do you think that is the biggest thing that is facing Blount County in the next 5 years? The biggest thing that government and people might have to worry about, tackle, just happening in general? What do you think is the biggest thing that's facing the county in the next 5 years?
The biggest thing facing the county, I think really the biggest thing in my mind and in most people's minds is just the growth. And how are we going to control and manage growth? And I think it's going to take a lot of discussions. I think it's going to take a lot of commissioners coming up with ideas and bringing them before the commission. And maybe I have some ideas and I bring them before the commission. I just think we have to throw a lot of ideas against the wall and see what sticks and try to implement that.
What do you want to see this community look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
What do I want it to see it look like?
Yes.
I want to see it look like it does now. I kind of like our hometown feel. I've made this statement to a lot of folks, you know, though. I did a little bit of real estate, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. It was right around COVID, but people found out about our little secret here in Blount County. We kind of have good schools and good roads and low taxes, and I think just trying to direct and control that growth to keep this hometown feel and preserve our farmland and our rural beauty. That's very important to me. Being a farmer, owning 300 acres, or my family does, I don't want to see it developed, but you know what? You can't tell people not to develop or sell their land if they can jump through the hoops of our planning commission and, you know, and all of the regulations that we have. But I'd like to see Blount County remain like it is, but I know we're going to grow, and we just need to be able to control that growth and direct that growth in the way we want it to be.
Anything I haven't asked you think people should know?
No, you know, I'm a lifelong Blount Countian. My family's been here for combined over 150 years. My Bowers side, my McNeely side. My wife's side of the family is original descendants from Cades Cove, so we have a great love for Blount County. So I have a heart for public service. My grandfather was a county squire. My great uncle was actually the high sheriff of Blount County from 1914 to 1918. So I just like to continue serving my community, you know, and if I'm not elected, I know all the guys running, they're all good guys, they do a good job, and if I could help them in any way, I sure would be glad to.
Why are you running for Blount County Mayor?
Well, I'm running because there are some things that we need to work on in our county. We've got some challenges and opportunities over the next several years. And I want someone who's going to be energetic, who's going to be conservative, and who's going to do the job well every day.
How will you address growth in Blount County, and how do you think the mayor's office can responsibly accommodate people who already live here and people who are choosing to move here?
Tremendous growth over the last few years, and I think our biggest challenge in government is dealing with infrastructure and traffic needs. We had a growth study that came back that had several good suggestions for dealing with land use and zoning, but didn't really touch on traffic and infrastructure as much as we need to. So I'd really like to focus us on developing a 10-year capital plan for infrastructure and traffic needs, putting together a mayoral traffic task force so we can track commute times and develop those projects that we need to make sure that our quality of life doesn't diminish.
Okay. There are some concerns from parents about safety in Blount County schools. How will you address these concerns? And if some of these parents are worried because there have been some noted infractions between students and teachers or people who are in like the positions of power, if you will, people who are employees.
I think the mayor's role is really to make sure there's funding for security issues, to work with the school board and develop a common vision for how we can keep our students safe, and to be an advocate for our children. One of the things that Blount County Schools is working on is adding security vestibules in all of the schools to make sure that each school entrance is safe, to make sure visitors are properly screened. The school board's worked on some issues with regards to making sure that personnel files are shared and updated and in the proper form. And so I think it's just that we keep pushing to keep student safety at the forefront. Another thing that we've also worked on is on the county commission is making some suggestions for state law changes to make sure that statewide these incidents are being properly reported, to make sure that we hold people accountable when they do bad things, and just make sure that the whole system's working properly.
What do you think is the biggest thing that is kind of facing Blount County in the next 5 years? Something that people should really be paying attention to, anticipating, those types of things?
I think it comes back to growth and infrastructure. Again, we've seen tremendous growth in this county. In about 3 fiscal years, we're going to have about $8 million in money that was previously going to debt service payments come free. And I think we've got a tremendous opportunity there to really pursue infrastructure needs, to pursue those traffic solutions, and get us back on track with where we need to go in terms of matching our infrastructure with the population that we have.
Where do you want to see Blount County? This is my final question. Where do you want to see Blount County in 5 to 10 years?
In 5 to 10 years, I hope that we maintain our quality of life, that we have some solutions to take it to the next level. I hope we've paid down even more of our debt. Over the last 8 years I've been on the budget committee, we've paid down 47% of our debt, and I think we've got an opportunity to continue on that track without any tax increases, without incurring new debt, and just keep Blount County a great place to live.
Libby sent me a few questions here. Why are you running for Blount County Mayor?
Because I live in Blount County, and I'm going to be here for the next 40 years. My daughter already has her place picked out next to her grandparents. She's going to live there. And there's work to be done, and I want to be a part of it. And I see the mayor as a purely representational job. It is not someone with a vision or all the answers. There's somebody, so you've got a life to live. Go out and live it. There's somebody at the office, 24 hours, not 24 hours a day, but full time, paying attention to all that stuff that needs attention, making sure nothing gets bogged down, nothing gets rushed through, that the money's there for what we need. And just paying attention to it. I could do that. I want to do that.
how will you address growth in Blount County? Do you think the mayor's office can accommodate people who live here already, as well as people who are moving?
That's the job. Um, Everywhere is changing. You know, I've been lucky enough to live a lot of different places in my life before coming here to be with family. And everywhere I've ever been, people are like, it's changed so much. It's not been like this. So we're not going through anything truly unprecedented. Everywhere is dealing with change, and we can deal with it too. And I have found the people of Blount County to be very unanimous in their priorities and their concerns. And that means that these are very addressable. So yeah, I believe the mayor's office's job is to pay attention to the people who live here and bring new people in, make them a part of this community so that they don't feel like outsiders. You know, to fall in love with this place like we all love it.
There are concerns about school safety in schools in Blount County. How will you address these concerns? Parents are worried because they've been noted in fractions between students and student teachers.
Yeah, I used to be a school teacher. I was a middle school science teacher. And it's, you know, everyone says, oh, this is the highest calling. I really think teaching is it. Like, you know, between mayor and teaching, I think that is the more critical job. You know, there's one person being a mayor. There are hundreds of thousands of people being teachers, educators, and you only get to educate kids once. It has to be addressed, and I think the way to address it is by hiring more teachers, reducing that ratio, getting more faculty in. That way kids aren't falling through the cracks. That way there are more people there to help kids when they're in a rough patch, when they're facing something they shouldn't be facing, bullying, whatever. And there's more accountability when there's more people in the room.
Hiring more teachers.
Yeah.
I know that's been a problem
Mm-hmm.
in this state.
Mm-hmm.
There aren't enough teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Budgets being what they are.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see addressing that? How do you see being able to hire more teachers to put in schools?
Well, if we're growing, and we are growing, then our tax base should be growing, right? It'd be weird if we got more people and somehow had less funds available. So we're not going to grow drastically. It feels drastic, but it's all a matter of priorities, you know, and we have to handle everything, but what comes first? And I think our kids, that should come first, you know.
What do you think is the biggest challenge facing Blount County now and in the next 5 years?
Right now, it's maintaining our sense of identity as new people come in. And that's why I mentioned earlier about that, getting them in, you know, like feeling a part of this community, participating, creating those opportunities and places for our community to like reaffirm ourselves as a great place to be. The next 5 years, I am worried about significant economic downturns at the national level. And I think local power is where it's going to be. You know, we're going to have to take care of us. And I think Blount County is very well positioned for that with our agricultural heritage, with our sense of community, the history of coming together. I don't think things are going to get better right away. And I think we're going to have to really lean on one another and be there for one another and support one another through it.
You talk about things being tough and going to get tough. What things in particular are you talking about?
I think the U.S. dollar is going to continue to lose its purchasing power, and that means the cost of everything is going to go up. I think inflation is going to continue, and that's going to make housing, food, long-term, I think those are problems that need attention now. We need to get ahead of them rather than chase them once they show up. That is a concern of mine. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah.
What are you going to do on the local level to kind of combat some of those issues? What would you do as mayor?
Gotcha. So the mayor's office is sort of the nexus, the communication. You know, it's not top down. Bad leadership is always trying to pull information up to itself and people who are trying to get stuff done because it feels disconnected. Good leadership is about pushing authority down to those who are doing the work and letting them make decisions with the real information they have in real time. So the mayor's office is about bringing people together. We've got a lot of community groups here doing really strong work. Public School Strong, very impressed with them. They're one of many. We're gonna have to we've got Second Harvest, they do good work. we're gonna, I think, have to be expanding this. And it's gonna take all hands. I do not, again, I don't believe one person has all the answers. I think the answers come from the community. And the mayor's job is to be that place where they can come and talk and make sure what they see and what they know can be applied.
What do you hope Blount County will look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Rather than growing out, and I grew up in a place that had rampant development, and it ended up being a place with no real character, and there wasn't really places for young people to go and do anything. It was just an endless sea of ranch-style homes. Rather than building out, which stresses our infrastructure because then you have to put in new roads, new water, and new electricity, I would try to constrain new development in our downtowns. Downtowns should be like the crown jewel of any city. And rather than pushing new growth out, try to bring people in. I would try to focus our development in the core where we already have roads, already have water, already have power lines run. And it's much easier to serve people when they're where things are. Does that make sense? I think so. So I would like to see in 5 years, instead of us growing out, us have grown in. And Blount County has a lot of wonderful historic downtowns. And I think they should be preserved, and I think they should be maintained and grown in. Does that make sense?
Anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked that you think is important?
I am incredibly impressed with Blount County's paying down its bond debt, and I am committed to not increasing that. I don't believe that pilot programs and TIF programs, which are where the municipality takes on the financial risk for business development, those are programs I'm not a fan of. I believe in the pay-as-you-go system and keeping this cost of living as low as we can for our residents and our local businesses.
Would you support any tax raises?
Not on our residents, big businesses. I'm talking like 100 employees plus, you know, franchises, chains that want to move in here. Because it's a great place to be. Why wouldn't a business want to move in here? I don't think it's unfair to ask outside large companies to be held to a high standard to make sure that they are paying into our community when they come in. And new development. We're all worried about it, and one way to deal with that is to look at, and like, it's the thing that would be looked at and discussed by the county commission. I would be open to discussing new taxes or fees on new development. I would be willing to look at that, and that's about the extent of new that I would be willing to really consider.
So you would support corporate taxes, just
Yeah.
not residential?
Yeah, I really believe in entrepreneurship, and I believe local businesses are invested and engaged with their community in a way that large businesses can't be. And I want to make entrepreneurship and support our current local business owners as much as possible with our local government. So providing resources, that's training, paperwork, administrative, like, you know, step-by-step processes. I want to make that an easy on-ramp to sort of self-employment, local businesses. I want to keep their costs down. But big business, yes, I would be willing to look at new taxes there.